president of One Energy and Zero Energy Building Inc. I've been working with Mary Ellen. We've been doing, since last year, I made a presentation on Earth Day, and one of the things that the university and the students have decided to move forward on is to move forward on the sustainable program on campus, energy, environment, health concepts. So we felt this year we'd bring people of nationally known on the dealing with the environment and also dealing with the things that are very important for your future and our future. And we feel that Tom is the perfect person, as being not only the Mohawk Indian spiritual leader, but he's one of the environmentalists from the books you would read because of what he represents for Native American tradition, what they believe in. So I just want to introduce Tom, okay? And I guess a lot was a little bit, it's my fault. He was autographing about 1,000 people after the game when I told him going to be down there. So, but there's a whole team, as Lyle says, that's the team right here with the coach. So I'm going to let him just on his own talk about, I think he wants to talk a little bit about the game of lacrosse and many other things to start the introduction as one of the items before it gets into the environmental aspects. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, I found how to turn myself on. Well, first of all, I'd like to just say hello to everybody here. And I thought maybe, I don't know, did anybody ever hear Mohawks when they talk in our native tongue? You did, huh? Yeah. Well, anyways, I thought I'd say a few words in the Mohawk language just so that you get a feel or a hear of it. To see if it sounds like Italian or Polish or Russian or American. Negati itu kalau digawon ke no sandali. Nego akadagya kue sekarang tadi ibu nak tu kuat. Negati wi orang kata nyon tu kata wi wah yang diwinin apa ne. Kata ego no dah berslori. Nene cini ho di ho dam ne. Ibu asal selat nama. Dah kata wi wah yang watch kata ne ego wini sakti. Supaya bisa nama. Ibu nak tu kau orang bergai pada kau angkat slowly. Dan kali supaya tadi ha. That means, those few words, is that tonight I am here, I have arrived here safely to be with you, and what I'm going to try to do is to recall and to tell some of the teachings and things that our grandfathers and grandmothers have told us and passed down over the generations. Amongst the native people, amongst the Iroquois, and when we say Iroquois, we start with the sun, where the sun comes up in the east. And so of the Iroquois, the first people that the sun touches of the Iroquois is the Mohawks, because we live on the east part of the country. And then as it goes west, the sun, the next one it touches is the Oneidas. And then as it goes further to the west, it goes over to the Onondagas, and then on to the Cayugas, and then to the Seneca, and to the Tuscarora, next to Niagara Falls. And our uncle told us, whenever you do a roll call of the Iroquois nations, you always start where the sun starts. And you mentioned Mohawk, United, you go right out to the Seneca, all the way across, the way the sun goes. And they said, my uncle and them said, if you do that, the elder people really look up to you because they'll say you were taught in the proper way. But if you give a roll call of the Iroquois and you start with the Senecas, they'll say, I didn't know the sun come up where the Senecas lived. And so they won't think highly because you don't have your facts straight and fall in the right way. So I always try to remember those things as I was living, not to forget those. I'm going to do what we call Thanksgiving address, but I want to do the shorter version of it, because to do the real one, it takes about at least an hour to do it. And the reason this is important is because everybody is celebrating what they call Earth Day, Mother Earth Day, all over, and it's getting bigger and bigger all over the world. But it's about 300 years too late. It should have happened 300 years ago. And now we would really be somewhere in a real good position had we done it 3 years ago. But when I do this with you, I want to ask you all to, if you help me to do it. In the Mohawk Indian people, whenever we have a meeting or even a lacrosse game or any kind of ceremony or even like a social dance just to have fun, there's always an elder that's asked to either volunteers or is asked to do what they call the Thanksgiving address to open the activity. And then when they're finished, whether it's a meeting or a dance or whatever, the same elder or another elder will close it with the same kind of spiritual talk. And they always either talk Mohawk, or if they're Senecas, they'll talk Seneca, or if they're Onondagas, they'll talk Onondaga. But rarely, ever, did we ever hear it in English. All the years I've been living, I never heard it in English until I started telling it in English. And the only reason I told it in English is because there was a lot of people that when the Senecas talk or the Mohawk talk, they don't understand what we're saying. So I volunteered one time to translate it into English so everybody would understand. So I'm the one guilty of that a little bit, the English came to where we live. But in the Mohawk, we will say this, and I want to, and the walolok, that means we will gather all our minds, until our minds that's gathered becomes one. And then we follow something like Mother Earth or the sacred water or whatever. And then we say, that means we will give greetings, thanks, and kindness to it, what we're talking about. And then at the end, the Mohawk will say, Ekadi, means, and so it will be. Ekadi niyoktumak yuba. And our mind is agreed to give thanks and greetings, and our mind is all one. And when he says our mind is all agreed, everybody who's in that meeting or in that gathering is supposed to say, if it's a real old Mohawk language, people, they'll say, to. Can you say it? To. But if you are not really a traditional kind of Mohawk guy, and you're kind of like traditional, but modern and contemporary a bit, when he says our mind is agreed, then you can say, But if you're a Iroquois that's really modern and a hip guy, when he says our mind is agreed, you can say, yeah. And it doesn't matter how you respond, as long as you respond. Because our elders said that the Creator and the Mother Earth is listening to us. And when the elder is speaking, he is speaking on behalf of everybody that's assembled. And so I want to do the short one. of that. And before I even do that, I wanted also to share with you, because there's a misconception or there's a pre-notion of a lot of American people, or just people in general, that hasn't been exposed to Native thinking or thought. When we say creator, in my Mohawk language, we call creator Songoya Disom, Songoya Disom. And literally translated into English, it means the one that made us. In other words, that's what we mean when we say God, God. Well, our concept, if you're taught by tradition, is way different than if you're taught at the University of Albany or the Mohawk School run by the state of New York. It's altogether different. And how I want to share with you is one time when I was about 10 or 11 years old. This man came from, I don't know if it was Albany College here, or it was Harvard, or Yale, or Princeton. I was just 10 years old. You just know he came from a big university somewhere. He's a professor, doctor somebody. I don't remember his name. But he was looking for my great-grandfather, and my great-grandfather was pretty much stone deaf. And he couldn't hear nothing he said. You can holler all you want. He won't hear you. And my great-grandpa had thick glasses, like the Coke bottles, because he was half blind. Even with Coke bottle glasses, if you write something on a paper, he could read it. You know why? Because he went to school at Carlisle School in Pennsylvania. So he learned how to read and write a little bit. And so with his big Coke bottle glasses, you give him a piece of paper if you want to know something. And he'll look at that, and he's got a magnifying glass about that big, got a handle on it, and then he'll go like this, and he'll twist that around until he focuses it. And he'll read that thing, not quickly, take some time to focus. Then all of a sudden he'll clap his hand. He says, he says, I understand what you want. He clapped his head, and he even jumped up a little bit, so happy he understood. Well, and so this professor from the big university asked me, I'm only 10, can you be the interpreter for your great-grandpa? Do you know how to talk to him? I said, barely. Because you don't hear me good. And if I write something, you don't hardly see it very good. And no matter what I do, I have a hard time. And every time he talks to me, he's hollering at me because he thinks I'm deaf too. But that's how come I learned a lot of things, because he hollered at me all the time. But I wasn't deaf, I just learned. Yeah, but anyway, so here's what he says. The professor says, ask him, your grandpa, great-grandpa. His name was Aruyadago. That was his name, my great-grandpa. He said, ask him, I want to know. To the Indian people, when you say God, or you say Creator, ask your grandpa to define that or to interpret that. What does that mean in his mind? So, I got to go over there and go close to my grandpa. Not too close, but just so he can look at me right here. So I talked Mohawk to him. And I says to him in my language, that man wants to know what's the God or what's the Creator. How do you tell? How do you define it? That's what. Can you define what Creator means? So here, look at me. He says, That means I don't quite understand what she said. Say it again. That white guy wants to know what is a creator, what's a God? And then he still don't understand. So I wrote it on the paper. And he go like this. All of a sudden he jumped and he clapped. Oh, and now I understand. So here's his answer. Very important. He says, back in the day when I was a little boy, there was no computers, no cell phones. They barely had telephone. Kind you go like this on the wall when I was a little boy. Then they got fancy when it goes like this. Way before cell phone time. So we didn't have those at our house. But off the reservation, they did. In Fort Calverton, in Bombay, and Messina, they had them. So, here's what he said. At Bombay, at the general store, where the Mohawks go, there's a machine they have, and it adds up things that you buy at the general store. And his grandpa said, tell him he's got to recruit about 200 or 300 people to help him. And then he's got to allow himself maybe 200 or 300 years that these 300 people can do this task of trying to find out what's creator, what's God. And then this 300 people will begin. Your first task is to count every human being in the North and South America, and Alaska, and Europe, and Russia, and Africa, and Asia, and the whole world. Every human being, even the one that was just born a minute ago, and don't miss one. And then put it on that machine and pull the handle. And then now the next task is you must go to every rivers and the lake and oceans and ponds and creeks, and you have to count every single fish, big and small, that swim in all the waters of the world, and put it on there and pull the handle. And then you got to count every frog, even the small little pollywog in the Amazon. Don't miss one. And put it on, pull the handle, and count all the stars in the nighttime sky. You get it? And they go on and on. He was going on. And I'm telling that man. And then after 300 years, if it's possible, then great-grandpa said, now, push that one that adds all of that up. And the summarization of every life that you can count in 300 years of this where we live earth. All of that life in its total is what we call God or Creator. Because life in its total is God. And since you and I are a part of life, then God is in you and in me and in you. And in the birds and in the animals. And that's why we're not supposed to abuse each other's. And if we want to hunt for food, we don't abuse the deer. You only use what we need, no more. It's got to have purpose. And it has to have also spiritual talk. And that's what he told me to tell him. And you know that professor, what he did? He had a tailor's tape. And he asked if he can measure my great-grandpa's head. And he then put it on my head. But I was 10 years old. Measure how big my head is. I guess to figure out the capacity of my brain and my grandpa's brain as to how to respond. I'm not sure scientifically how that goes, but I think that's what he was doing. But why would he measure us? And he asked to measure my grandma's head too. And my grandmother says, no way. I'm not letting him touch my head. But you know what Grandma said? Because she's listening to me interpret. And she says, and also tell that man this, that if we were to try to make a moccasins for our Creator, there's not enough deer skin, hide, to make a moccasin big enough to fit the Creator's foot. Creator is so big and powerful and humongous. And Grandma said, and if we were to go and get material to make a shirt for a Creator, there's not enough material anywhere to make it big enough to fit Creator. Wow. That's pretty awesome. And that's what she said, Grandma. So with that in mind, when you talk about a human being, when you say Creator, you don't come close. It's too gigantic. It's too powerful. It's beyond us to know that, except the life that He gave us precious. And so to show you this, and one other thing before we begin this that I want to share with you, and it is a fact of our understanding, is that it is said that the Haudenosaunee people, that's we call it Mohawk, UAlbany or Haudenosaunee, whereas the Onondagas and Seneca, they say Haudenosaunee. Mohawk in Oneida, we say Haudenosaunee instead of Ho. That's the only difference. The rest of it's the same, the people of the Longhouse. In our creation story of how our history goes, it says in there that we came from another Earth in the solar system somewhere. That there's another place that's like the Earth. And that's where our great-great-great-grandma came from there. And she crossed over to this Earth. And with that power and the power of this Earth and the other Earth in the solar system, together it made us the humans. And when we were made from the elements of the natural world of that planet and this planet, and even they know the name, all them, Senecas, Tuscarora, Mohawk, the name of that planet. We still use it every day. We call it Galumpiaki. And translating into English, the place of the sky in the sky. That's where we came from, to come here. And when we were given life to be here, this is what I'm going to tell you now, to ask you to help me with it, if you will, is the instructions that the Creator, the humongous power, and the Earth Mother, who is the wife of the Creator, and we are the children, and they're our parents, told us this is our instruction of how we as a human, that's our parameters is within that address of Thanksgiving that I'm going to share with you shortly. As long as we walk on this earth and respect everything that's in there, we will have an everlasting life, like a circle that has no end. And so we will begin now. So first, our Creator, they organized this tonight, that we're going to come here to this university, and we're going to talk a little bit and visit. And so, I clear my calendar, because I was busy, just like you. I had things to do, and you change your stuff around to make yourself available tonight. And I did the same. So when I look around, this is how many people come together at this assembly. And I was a little bit sad to see it, but I seen that crutches. I said, oh, somebody got hurt. Somebody tripped. Or somebody got beat up. Or something happened. But I seen that crutches. I said, oh no. Oh, but then I said, oh, they're the lacrosse players, so maybe that's why. I still don't know, I'm just guessing. But anyway, it's not in a coffin, not in a wheelchair, so doing pretty good, right? So, as we came here to this assembly, that power called Creator opened up the pathway, the trail of our road, and took all the debris away so we won't trip and fall as we came here tonight. So we all arrived safe. And so what I'm going to ask you and I to do is that we gather our mind as though we were one person, and we put it symbolically and spiritually here in front of us. Many layers of thank you, many layers of greetings, many layers of kindness and compassion and love, until it touches the ceiling and the walls of this room. And then you and I will pick it up, this big thank you, greetings and love, and we will pick it up and we will give it to our Creator, and we say thank you that you guided us safely to this assembly, that we may visit and interact tonight with each other. Thank you, Creator, for the good health we carry in our mind is agreed. And then you will say, oh. And then it is my uncle, who was one of the leaders of the Mohawk. He was 97 years old. And he was the one I always followed. He was a Bear Clan man. He is short guy, little for Mohawk. And here's what he says when he does this. He says, look around when you assemble. When you start and you look, you scan the place. Everywhere. Okay. And you'll see the women at the assembly there. Easy to see. From the eldest to the middle age to the youngest lady there are the most beautiful, pretty woman in all of the world is in your assembly. And that's easy to see. And then Uncle says, and then scan it again and look again. The whole place. And you will notice there are men, from the eldest to the middle age to the young, are the handsomest, dignified guys in all the world. So when you put the most beautiful woman and the most handsome guys together, this assembly is the most perfect, handsomest people in all the world are gathered here. And so what do we do about it? Our mind become one. And we say hello with kindness and love to one another, that we share each other's space in this next moments in our mind is agreed again. And we say, oh. And then it is next one, that our Creator, He made this planet Earth. And when He finished, He declared that the Earth planet is a woman. But beyond that, He also declared that this woman planet is the mother of all human life and all trees and birds and animals, every life in its total. The Earth is our mother. So all life shares a common mother. At the beginning, when the world was new, our Creator talked to the Mother Earth and gave her her job description and her goal and her mission. And He said, you will give birth to all life. And when you do, every day you will pull them to your bosom and you will nurse them, feed them, give them food every day to eat. And so this morning when we had a breakfast, lunch at noontime, dinner, supper time, in between snack, every single food you and I put in our mouth, where did it come from? Mother Earth. And since the beginning of time, our Mother Earth has been doing that. And then Grandma told us Sometimes we are forgetful and neglectful as a human beings. And sometimes some human beings are not just neglectful or forgetful, but are downright disrespectful and abusive to our mother, the earth, and hurt her deliberately. But when the Creator made the Mother Earth, He looked for the most stubborn woman, the most rock-headed woman. And so my grandma said, "On shot dolet, I want you to give it some thought. That since the beginning of the human people, our Mother Earth has been the most reliable that anything could be reliable about. She's been the most rock-headed, stubborn, because no matter how forgetful or destructive or disrespectful we are to the Mother Earth, she never became angry or mad enough to throw us away or to abandon us. But always she's there to love us and feed us all day, day after day, no matter what we did. Now that's the kind of mother that everyone should have. And we have that kind of mother. And so Grandma said, "My, we're lucky that we have such a good mother." And so what I'm asking you all to do today is, in a spiritual, symbolic way, we do many thank yous, of layers of thank you, and we put it in front of us right here. And then we take it also, hello and greetings, layers. And then we take kindness and compassion and love from here, layers, until it touches the ceiling and the walls of this room. And then you and I will take it, and we'll pick it up, and we give it to our Mother, the Earth. And we say, "Mother Earth, we are your children, and we will stand by you, and we will try to protect you everything we can." And so, Mother Earth, we say thank you with love, all the gifts of life you give us, and our mind is agreed. And the people say, and then the Creator made the water that's in the lakes and the river and ocean. Under the Mother Earth, there's veins in there, carrying water to all parts of the sacred life. And the snow and the water come on the top of the mountain and goes through the mountain tops into the valleys and into the rivers, to the ocean. And as it passes my house, and it passes the town where you live, it quenches your thirst of all your village people, your community. And it does to me too. It quenches our thirst every day. And if we're working hard and we're sweating and we're grimy, we take a shower. And the sweat goes away, and the grime goes away, and we feel clean and healthy. Or jump in the lake and the river. Same thing, health again. And that's what the waters of the rivers do, for they are a living spirit of the Creator and Mother Earth. And so every time a Mohawk Indian drinks the water, he always sends thank you to the spirit of the waters of the world. For without that quench of thirst, we won't be able to carry a cross stick. We won't be able to live another day. The limited time, but the water's still moving. Just go look at Niagara Falls. Just go look at the Provost Falls right now, just nearby. Everything is still going. And so to the waters of the world, we the human beings depend on you for quenching of our thirst. And today we are of one mind, and we send multitudes of thank you, greetings, and love to you. Every river, every water, every place in the Mother Earth, we say thank you with love, and our mind is agreed. And then it's to the medicine that grows. So if it comes sickness, there's medicine in the woods, in the swamp, by the river's edges, that can take away every sickness, known to animal, bird, or man. And in older days, everybody knew, those elders, what kind of medicine goes for what. But when we became losing our spiritual, we no longer dream. We no longer have vision of truth to guide us where we need to go. But the medicine is still waiting for us to find them. And when we find them, we ask them for healing, and they will heal us. But we've got to ask. And so to the medicines that grow all over Mother Earth, we the humans are of one mind, and we say thank you with love to them, and our minds agreed. And this one I want to really share with you is when the Creator and Mother Earth made us. This is what the Creator said. When I put you human beings on the earth, I didn't put you here to walk on the earth, on the Mother Earth, with the bottom lip hanging down that you trip over your own lips in grief and sadness. That's not why I made you. He said, I made you people human so that I can see your smile. And Grandpa said, the Creator and Mother Earth wants to see our Colgate smile 3 times minimally per day. You know what a Colgate smile is? When you can see the whites of your teeth from ear to ear. And not superficially, not fakely. Real smile. Genuine. 3 times per day. And Grandma said, if you and I fail to have a minimum of 3 smiles per day, the Colgate one, then we have missed the reason why we were born to this earth. Might as well not be living. And so to guarantee that this be the situation, the Creator made the birds, and He put beautiful colored feathers on their body to make it beautiful. Then He made the eagle to be the chief of all the birds. And then He gave the robins a song to sing, the chickadees a song to sing in a rhythm, the mourning doves, and on and on. And then the Creator told the birds, you will get up early in the morning before the sun shows his face, and you will sing your many beautiful, beautiful songs to welcome the old brother sun that brings the daylight. And when the humans and the deers and the bears hear you singing to welcome the miraculous day, you will, the birds, shake up the minds of the bears and the deers and the humans, so that boredom and lonesomeness will not find a home in their body. And so the birds is flying. And if every morning you're not lazy, get up before the sun comes up, and you want to hear beautiful beauty of song that no orchestra can duplicate, it will be those birds singing. For they never forgot what the Mother Earth said and the Creator said, to bring joy and happiness to our life. And the eagle still flies. That's their leader. And so you and I, the people, we are always grateful and respectful. So we put layers of thank you, greetings, and love that it touches the ceiling. And then you and I throw north, west, south, and east bits of that thank you, greetings, and love to every bird. We thank them for the song they sang this morning, for this miraculous, beautiful day that never was until today. And so, to the birds with love, we say thank you. Our mind is agreed. To the 4 winds that bring the changing of the seasons, when there's a stagnation of wind, they're the one that moves it. And sometimes I don't want to move, so a big hurricane and tornado comes, and it moves it. And if anybody's brick house is in the way, it'll move it too. But it never hurts us. It always goes over where we left it. Because the 4 winds, sacred wind, they got a lot of power. And so to the 4 sacred winds that bring the changing of the seasons, that we may live, we say thank you with love, and our minds agree. To the old brother sun, that brings the light of day, so that as I walk, I won't hit my brother, and our heads will bloodshed and break the skin because I see him, so I don't have to bump him. If I walk this way and I see nephew, I don't like him, but I respect because the sunlight shines. There should be no war nowhere in the earth as long as the sun shines. Otherwise we are blind. We don't know the sacredness of life. And so to the old brother's son, we shine the light and make the trees, little leaves, begin to grow again for another season. Oh, brother, son, your younger brother and sister, we say thank you with love tonight, and our mind is agreed. And then there's another sun, the sun of nighttime. We call her our grandmother, the moon. And she's the one that walks 28 to 30 days. That means she walks certain road. 28, 30 days, she turn around and she goes same road back. And she carries a stick like an orchestra leader. And she says, okay, ladies, get ready. Every month. So a new blood is made. And that lady's body becomes a soft bed where a little human being can begin their journey to be born. And our grandmother, the moon, controls that every month without fail. That's where I came through that door to be born as you did. And our children and grandchildren too. And that's why we call her Grandma, the mother of nation. And so to our grandmother, for all the children that were born yesterday, today, and tomorrow, we say thank you with love, and our mind is agreed. And then Grandma told us that, of course she's talking Mohawk, she never talks English. And it sounds funny in English, but don't sound funny in Mohawk. This is the one you might laugh a little bit because I'm talking English. She says, Grandma Moon is a lady of the night. It seems that different. That's not what we mean, because she does walk at night. She is the lady of the night. And as she walks every night, Grandma said, as she likes to doll herself up, beautiful gowns, beautiful clothes, and she puts on diamond wristbands, both sides, diamond ring on every finger, diamond ring hanging on every ears, on her toes, on her ankles. You know what that means? That as she walks the sky, the stars are the diamond jewelry for where she walks in great beauty. So to the stars that tell us what's coming in the future, to the stars that in time of drought put a morning dewdrops on every grass in the drought time, so there will always be life. And if we get lost at night, that star can tell us how to get back home. And so to the great beauty of the stars, because Grandma said, if you gather all the artists of all the world, they can never match the beauty of the stars that fill the nighttime sky, the way the Creator made it. And so to their great beauty, if only that, it's sufficient that our mind become one and we say thank you with great love to the star of the sky world, and our mind is agreed. And then it is now to the one we call it, the four sacred beings, the unseen forces. They're the ones, for you lacrosse players, when you play lacrosse, that's the one, that four sacred beings, they like to go there where you are playing. That's the way we are taught in our teaching. That's the one that can make you throw that ball or fancy this and fancy that. They're the one, because they're working medicine. They're the ones that brought us our great law for the Iroquois people. And that's the same great law that in 1754 here in Albany, Benjamin and Thomas Jefferson studied it from our great-great-grandpa, how to make a constitution based on democracy. It took place right here in Albany in 1754. How do I know? Because my great-great-great-grandfather was one of the leaders that recited that law. And so to those four sacred beings that gave us our clans, our four sacred rituals, our medicine and our knowledge, whenever we need them, they always never fail us. They're the ones that help the geese fly to Florida without getting lost. They're the ones that help the salmons and all the fish in the big ocean to migrate to and not get lost. And so to those four sacred beings, we are of one mind. We send thank you, greetings and love to them, and our mind is agreed. And then now it's to our Creator, the one. Member at the beginning when we said, what is Creator? The biggest, most humongous power in the universe. And His wife, the Mother Earth. We got good parents. We must always do them good. And when our Creator finished the whole thing, here's what He said. I put this man right here, and I put this woman right side by side. And with the love and respect you will have for each other, will be born replicas of you too. And that's where you and I come. And it will always be like that. And He said, I didn't build the University of Albany to house all the philosophical doctrines of spirituality or academics. I didn't build a church that touches the clouds. No. I only put Mother Earth here, and a man and a woman. And all I ask of you, men and women and children, every day, when the dawn of the day comes, I want to hear you out of your mouth, just a simple word, thank you for the miracle that I live. And the Creator said, that's all I ask, and nothing more. And that's what the Mohawk bases their spirituality on. The Lakota, the Cheyenne, the Choctaw, the Seminole, the Irish, the real European, the real African. If you go back, they all follow universal truth at one time. Today, many has forgotten their universal truth, but most Indians still has it. That's why I'm here tonight. Because our Mother Earth needs help. Our world needs help. And our lacrosse players, they have a power. They work with power, energy. They're ones that can help that Mother Earth a lot, if the focus is right. And so with that, our Creator only asks that you and I say thank you at the beginning and at the end of each day. That's nothing big to ask. Simple as pie. So, let us gather our mind as though we were one, and let's put layers of thank you in front of us. Layers of greetings and hello, and kindness and compassion and love, till it touches the ceiling and the walls of this room. And then I ask you guys, the lacrosse players and all the people here, let's pick it up and throw it high into the universe. And we say, Creator, thank you for the miracle of our life, and our mind is agreed. And that's the Reader's Digest for the spirituality of the nations of North America and Western Hemisphere. There's not many left that still follows that, because colonization came and it almost destroyed all of that. So that's what I wanted to share with you. But somebody was supposed to keep track of the racetrack clock. 1 more hour?
Minute.
1 minute. Okay, I forgot. I wanted to talk to the lacrosse players. I was talking earlier with your coach, and he said there's 3 kinds of lacrosse, but just can correct me if I'm wrong. There's that field lacrosse and box lacrosse, and then there's the medicine lacrosse. 3 different kind of games. But mostly we come from the medicine one before it turned into a sport. But even though it turned into a sport, it still has lots of power from the medicine one. And the medicine one, when they make that stick I'm not talking about those aluminum sticks, plastic sticks. That's kind of sacrilegious. It really is. But the real hickory stick, the lacrosse stick, when they go get the wood for that stick, they've got to burn tobacco for that tree, where that stick is going to come from. And they first ask the Creator that they can take that tree to make that stick by prayer. And then we could say a fire for it, or a pipe, either one. And then they say, what's that stick going to be used for? Who's going to hold it? Who's going to belong to that stick? So that's why you see real old lacrosse players, they don't like to loan their sticks out to somebody. Only they'll carry their own, because there was a ceremony made for that. And they said their name. That's why they don't share that. But it's only for you. And if you got one, it's made only for you, not somebody else. And then, when you're going to play lacrosse, a medicine lacrosse, or any kind of lacrosse, as far as I know, it's the same as if you go to a big New Year's midwinter dance at our house. And we have a dance. You use a big turtle rattle. And you use a wooden bench. And they get on there on a bench. And they sing the Creator's song. And before we can get in that dance, and before we can play that rattle, the singers or the dancer, and before you can touch that lacrosse stick to play that game, even if it's sport or not, or medicine, here's what you're supposed to do before you get in there. Each one of you, you're supposed to say, if you're real Iroquois, they say, Nena de Gagisam, no Nisaladi, Sagoy dat Flewachte. Dugana Hoda, Quackly Hoxaxi, Nature Ogadamuya, Munjate. Ne Ogadahanjoni Ausko, Gadigo Dio, or Stuhak. That means, Creator, I ask for your forgiveness. If I have done something to hurt somebody, their feelings or their injury of body, physical, or if, Creator, I have done something to offend you, what I was doing as I walked the earth, I ask you to forgive me. Because when I'm gonna dance or I'm gonna play the lacrosse, I want pure, good mind to carry as a medicine for my people. And then when you play, Creator's with you. Then when you play, Creator's in that stick. And when you play, the power of Creator in that ball, you can fly if you do it right. That's the same thing we were told when we dance, great feather dance of Creator. It's a very strenuous dance. The beat is almost, I don't know how you measure the beat. It's so fast, and you really got to move. You get tired. But if you do all these things I told you, when you dance it, and you actually look at them, their feet isn't touching the ground, it appears. It appears like they're dancing about 6 inches off the ground, and they don't get tired, because that's a long song. Strenuous, but they don't get tired, because they did everything right. And that's the same thing with the lacrosse, if you do it spiritually. But also lacrosse can bring us bad luck if sacrilegious acts are done. They can backfire as well. And so that's what I wanted to share with you a little bit on that, from that teachings of our longhouse, of the lacrosse old one. And I hope that you have continued good luck with that game. And remember that whenever you're playing that kind of game, always have respect for the Creator of the earth. because every time you play, you are doing an Earth Day. You're doing an Earth Day. So with that kind of army, fast runners and fencing, stick handler, that's a lot of power that you're in charge of. So that 1 minute has elapsed, and I want to thank you for inviting me here to this college. And I hope what I said is meaningful to you. And I hope that I have not offended anybody, for that was not my intention to come here to offend anybody. But it was to show you, because I'm proud of my grandpa, and I'm proud of my grandma, and the things they believed in, because they believed in the pure things. And I hope you can do the same. Thank you.
So we're going to hear from Ismay, but I did want to mention that after Lou speaks, we do have Tom's book available. If anyone would like to purchase one, we'll have a table set up, and I think he may even be kind enough to sign some. Yeah. But before we do that, we do have a treat. As we said, Lou Ismay is also on our bill. For those of you who don't know Lou, and many of you are young in the audience, Lou was a lecturer here and a member of the Environmental Studies Department at UAlbany, and he was the director of the Environmental Forum from 1969 to 1978. And within that forum, it produced over 400 student projects that had some far-reaching effects in the capital region, still to this day. And Lou last year was awarded a proclamation for his environmental leadership from the New York State Assembly and Senate. And he still stays active. He hosts a weekly radio show. He's edited a newspaper. He's a zero energy consultant. He's very much a Renaissance man in all of his activities. So we're very pleased to have him and talk a little bit about some of the projects that were done in the late 70s, and that is some ways we can influence some betterment of the earth today. So thank you, Tom and Lou. Please come on up.
How many lacrosse teams know what you know now about lacrosse? Medicine stick and that. How many of you have heard of Pete Seeger? One of Pete's great, he's one of the best dissenters we have in this country. We had, but he also a motto, pass it on. Any favor, any information, pass it on. So, might that be a challenge for you guys? Okay. I'm going to fill in before I talk about what I intended to speak. I want to fill in a couple of gaps. Tom is very modest. He spoke, well, you may have seen the flag. It's the color of your shirts. In white, there are five symbols. The large one in the center, the connecting line to another smaller symbol, and that connects to another symbol of the same size. So 4 symbols the same size, and a large one in the center. The large one in the center represents the Onondaga Nation, which is where all of the most important meetings adopted by, welcomed by the Five Nations. They were being chased out of the southern part of the country, and the only people that gave them refuge was by common consent, the Iroquois. And the Iroquois are related in that their language is a linguistic relationship. There are other linguistic relationships with Indians, but not much anyway. So, just for the record, that symbol and those people that represented that symbol gave Ben Franklin and the other people, Jefferson and so, an idea, and this is in 1754, for the Albany Plan of Union, which directly led to the Articles of Confederation, and then the next jump was the Constitution of the United States. All started here before any Europeans arrived. That Confederacy, the symbolism. By the time of the Erie Canal, that early part of the 1800s, well, right, especially after the canal was built, corporations, communities grew, business came in. Some of the wives of corporate leaders, backing and whatever, were friends. And among the friends in this group were several women of the Seneca Nation. Now, the uniform, you can see this in woodcuts. At that time, there was a legging, little skirt people wore, the women wore, but the legging amazed the white people. Those women were thrilled. The idea that there was something different, and they were captivated with the idea, the knowledge, that the women had the same rights as the men. That directly resulted in this fight that the women had for decades, suffrage. So, the right of suffrage, that women in this country could vote and have a say, goes back again to the other side of the Confederacy, where Lacrosse was an important. Okay, so that just the history, the linkage between Native people and the non-Native people. And one more thing now. There may be occurring during the evening or afterwards that what Tom told us, the philosophy, is you will find it in indigenous people globally. You'll find, if you follow some of the news and things, the same concept of helping Mother Earth. Whether it's jungle or plains, whatever, you'll find that similarity. More concerned about saving Mother Earth, the planet, than some of the rest of us. And that's a commonality. And if you follow what's going on environmentally, you learn that a great many of the deaths, one statistic that I learned today, I've not confirmed it, but 2 environmental activists killed on a regular basis. I don't know what the total is, but it was 2 a day. Again, I have not confirmed it, but I just want to pass that on to you. In terms of who cares more, can we all care the same way? Anyway, 45 years ago, the revolution conclusion, you thought maybe Earth Day. Prior to Earth Day, the semester before, a program was started on the campus. It was an idea that existed several years beforehand, where faculty from friends and from various departments got together and decided it was time for something regarding the environment on the campus. And so I received a phone call. I was working out in the part of the country at that time. Would I be interested? And I said, yes. If we find the money, or when we do, would you be interested? And that's the way it happened. I just happen to have expertise that was not career-oriented to one of the topics, but rather an overall look at education at that time, just because of the various jobs I had. Anyway, so the program started in the autumn of late summer of 1969. By the time Earth Day came around, this campus was abuzz with activities. Indian Quad was not yet completed. They were still building it. Some of the roads were not completely finished. The trees weren't all planted. It was just the podium that existed. And the 4 quads, only 3 of which were occupiable. There were bus tours. Students had already latched on to the idea of saving the pine bush, or at least cleaning it up. So there were bus tours and little hikes, all the other activities on campus. There were 2 environmental type of programs. One was something called the Environmental Forum. That was a course that once a week, it met for a minimum of 4 consecutive hours. Initially, one of the hours was a sit-down dinner. The assumption being that faculty, guest speakers, and students should gather together. Also, hidden under that was manners. What does a formal dinner look like? We used to have that in the faculty planning room. An important thing, because the assumption was, and the expectation was, that serious environmental students were going to be assuming leadership roles. And they would have to learn to deal with people who had a little bit different table manners and procedures. So that was part of the thinking. So, 4 hours minimum. The longest continual class that we had was 8 hours. Because the questions were coming as long as people were willing to sit and question and listen and discuss. After every single session, people gathered at the office just to sit around and talk. There was never anything such as an 8-hour workday, because people were interested. We met in the art building because Ed Cowley, who was chairman of the art department, was the one who gathered everybody. And that faculty was the one that agreed to give a room for this purpose, the Environmental Forum. And then the students formed PIE, P-Y-E, Protect Your Environment, an idea that originated in Ravington, Connecticut, a group of high school age girls used to go out annually with their teacher, biology teacher, to a salt marsh and study it. About that year, 1969, they found it covered the buildings. They were furious. They went to the legislature, they did all sorts of campaigning, and formed the idea of protect your environment. When that came to Albany, it exploded. The environmental people formed a branch of PYE. They sold buttons. They sent them throughout the country. There was a network almost immediately. I only learned recently that Tom Porter was organized white groups of peace, the Mohawk group of the Lacrosse Reservation up on the St. Lawrence. A group of students, college-age people, came down, and a group of people from here went there on their own, on a regular basis, spending one weekend with on the reservation, another weekend down here. So, projects. The requirement was you attend class. Textbooks did not yet appear with the word environment on, but just a lot of public publications this size. You find little books to make remember these things. And you had to do something useful. So, people started to clean up the language. They got the mayor to put some garbage trucks out. They raked, they cleaned up. Semester after semester, on Saturdays, not every Saturday, but on a regular basis, people filled junk trucks, got some old cars and so forth, all those vehicles out to the junkyard, had helicopters come in. One of the students who was a National Guard pilot, so they brought a helicopter in, this big ravine out on 155. They took out refrigerators, washing machines, stoves, all sorts of stuff. Then, some of them, when they graduated, were still interested in Pine Bush, and eventually brought lawsuits to preserve the land. So directly related to people from Albany gave to the people around here what amounts to more than 3,000 acres in a preserve. The preserve, the Pine Bush Preserve, is biologically, naturally very important because species from the north, birds and mammals, come this far to spend the winter. Species from the south come this far, so they sort of intersperse. So the pine bush, very important. If you don't know it, it might be fun to go out sometime and see it. Now, the idea, and by the way, we used to just go out at night, step outside for a breath of fresh air in the summertime, during summer sessions, and listen to the mockingbirds. Now, they may still be around, but it was really refreshing. Working away long about midnight, you go out for a breath of fresh air and sit down between the science building and the art building and just listen to the mockingbirds. So if they're still around, try it and see. So, the other, I want to mention one. First of all, before I get to a couple of projects, this is the first publication by the Sierra Club that was the only one published for distribution on Earth Day. And in it, one of the students, Nora Wiley, has a little article. If you find this, look at it, you can get an idea of what was going on at that time. We had the only office on campus that had a water fountain about that high, and we used to sit around, or people would gather around it. And one of the unwritten rules that we had at that time was there was always a big pot, and there used to be coffee and of hot water. And people contributed. There was always cocoa, coffee, tea. Somebody baked, somebody did something. And so it was interesting, just the conversations around that water fountain, these ideas of projects. Now, one of the projects had to do with water pollution. Tobin Packing Company was a packing company. If you don't know the term, it's where animals were slaughtered and cut up and packaged and sent off elsewhere, and the waste material dumped into Raccoon Creek. Two of the students looked into this and investigated it, and a U.S. attorney, assistant attorney from Manhattan, came up and worked with them. That brought up a successful lawsuit. The lawsuit, when it was finished, the fine was paid by Tobin, and a portion of the fine went to the two students. Linda got her PhD in psychology. Peter got his law degree. Two students, well, Peter, bringing their lawsuit, at that time one of the large corporations, on an environmental issue. Another, one student looked at the pine bush and wrote a book, not ever prior to that done, an overview of the pine bush, titled Pine Bush, Albany's Last Frontier, distributed widely. At that time, he was a junior when it was published. Well, that raised some eyebrows, but he did the work, and the publication is available, probably in the library here. Sometimes it's on print years, for many years. And there's another project I wanted to mention. Let's see, the pine bush. Oh, for heaven's sake, excuse me. Well, anyway, there were a number of projects of interest, public interest. Oh, the third big project was something that was passed on literally from one semester to another semester, a group of students. We had a situation just not too many miles south of here, where a major corporation, because of the pollution, air pollution especially, people died, the land was destroyed. With years in the court, that group of people, for several years, passed on the research from one to another and determined, they knew who was taken sick, what ambulance crew responded to that emergency, and had one of the, at that time, leading health officials, public health officials, was amazed at the work that was done. So the projects included television programs, included instructions in school, the very first Boy Scout environmental badge, merit badge, same with the Girl Scout, the first one. In each case, giving us just a little idea of what was going on in this campus, setting records at that time, 45 years ago. Guest speakers coming, Renee DuBose, Ian McCarr, you may not have heard the names, but in those days, very important in their fields. And during the summer, if they wanted to, we hired a van. We went up to the Institute of Science and listened to and participated in the first global conference on environment held in Stockholm. The plan, the students who attended were part of the planning. One of the fun things was Isaac Asimov, he would be participating in these week-long sessions, and to sit with a man like that and just talk in the afternoon sessions was kind of fun. So, just a little idea, pieces here and there. The idea is a challenge. What will happen on the university? Will there be something done working together to make the university a model in itself of environmental activities? What will we do as individuals? Are we going to be able to work together? Are we going to resolve the problems? And there are two things that may be an impediment, at least in this country of ours. There's discussions still going on, secret discussions, about the Pacific program, all the Pacific bordering nations, and trade pact. It may have provisions in it, news coming out, that that treaty could overrule environmental activities in the States. And this other impediment is the idea of campaign financing the way it is now. There may be opposition from those people who benefit most by activities. So in summation, a little bit of what went on, not as exciting a conversation as listening to Tom with all of his eloquence, but what's important? Environmental issues are really public health issues. They're people-oriented issues. Will the public benefit? Will each of us help in some ways with these issues? Or will other priorities prevail and supersede the environmental issues? Leave you with that. Anyway, thanks for listening. This magazine, if you don't know it, Yes Magazine, one of the more inexpensive magazines, full of ideas, and I want to leave you with just one thought. There's a lady at the School of Forestry and Science, and she brings up that she's a native person. Her name is Robin Wall Kimber, and she has suggested that people, well, by the way, just for a moment, do words have meaning? One example, when we dig in the garden and we pick up a handful of that stuff, what do we call it? Dirt. It's not dirt. It's soil. It's living, full of living things, microorganisms, organisms, and so forth. She suggested that we use the word kin when we talk about a living thing. I saw a kin walking across the pasture. And using kin when there's a flock flying over there. The idea is that words have meaning. We can change our culture by the choice of our words. And one of the things to be helpful is to catch ourselves and call that stuff soil. And suggested other people do it. And think of nature as living and try it, see if it works for you. That's a beautiful kin there, look for leaves. Or there's another kin, a flock or something, or a herd or something. Anyway, thanks again.
We have 15 minutes of question and answer for both Tom Porter. We have to be out of here by 9, I guess. Question and answers. Any questions for either Tom or Luke? Any questions? Tom has a few other things about the lacrosse. Can you say, just mention what you had mentioned to the coach and us about your father, grandfather with the lacrosse? So they were, if you can, also about tomorrow night at Proctor's in Schenectady. Can you come up and say that?
Well, for those of you that don't know, Buffy St. Marie, the folk singer, she's going to be at the Proctor's in Schenectady tomorrow night. I think it's at 7 o'clock, I believe, at Proctor's. So she's our old-time folk singer and one of activist lady. She's a Cree-Indian and so on. So if you are interested in that, I wanted you to know that. She's something like that, Tina Turner. I think she's about 73 or 74, and she only looks like about 25. I thought Tina Turner was something, but when I seen her last year, Tina Turner don't even have a chance. Yeah. I forgot what he was asking me about.
But when you were talking to the coach about before.
What was that I was saying?
About your grandfather with the lacrosse in the box. Where did he play in lacrosse? Your grandfather.
Oh, my father. My father was an old-time lacrosse player too, and also he was a 3-time Golden Gloves boxer, and also he was. They didn't know it, but he was a snow snake guy too. My father.
Explain what snow snake is. With the pole, so they'll get a kick out of it.
Snow snake is a game that all the Iroquois plays, and what they do is they make a pile of snow, maybe a mile or more long, on a straight field, and then they drag a log, big log like that, and the guys pull it on the top of that snow pile till it makes like a trench, the log. And then sometimes they put a little bit of sprinkled water on it to give it a crust like or harden up. And then they make these sticks, or they call them snakes. Some are long ones and some are short ones. And when they make those sticks or snakes, they call them snakes. When they throw it, sometimes that stick is about 5 or 6 foot long. They go like this, like a snake. That's why I guess they call it snake. And at the end, they use lead, and they inlay it into the front so it can take it far away in the trench. And it looks like, like when you go to bowling alley and the ball comes back in that thing. Well, that's how that track looks like that. So when you throw your snake, it goes and follows that thing. And whoever can throw it the farthest like that. And all the different Iroquois nations placed that before, and a lot of my family members are real good at it. The Porter people in the Grand River, and they make them snakes too, and they're very secretive about it. Even what they polish it, they make a concoction of different things, and they make a polish to polish it, so that it's so smooth that when you throw it, there's nothing to grab it to slow it up, and it goes further. And is that what you're talking about?
About a mile, you said that people say?
Yeah, maybe almost like a mile, maybe more. Some of them can throw it. And some of them short ones too. So it's a big competition thing. And that one, only just women, men play it. Women don't touch that one there. Oh, and then, you're talking about women playing lacrosse, because in the tradition or the teaching, it says in there that women are not supposed to play the lacrosse amongst the Mohawks or the Onondagas or Senecas. That's what the tradition says. And I was talking to them earlier at the snack place here at this university. I said, well, even though that's what I always heard when I was young, about women not playing lacrosse. And a lot of women won't touch the lacrosse stick either, because they were taught by the tradition. But some of our Iroquois women went to school a lot, colonized, so they will touch the lacrosse stick and it doesn't bother them. But the ones that were raised in the longhouse, the more traditional women, they're the ones they won't even touch it, because they know the the way it goes. But then they asked me that question too about it. And I said, well, the reason why they didn't want women to play lacrosse, one of the reasons, is they said if they get hurt, they can get hurt in such a way that it'll prevent them from being able to conceive of a baby. And for the Iroquois, a woman, it was really important that they would be able to have a baby. But if lacrosse, they might get hurt and they will never be able to have a baby. But then I told them, I said, probably a man could get hurt too, and he can't have no baby either. So it all depends on how you look at it, you know what I mean? You wouldn't be able to make the baby, I guess. But I said, anyway, a woman too can ride a car and she can get killed and have no baby on the road. So if you use that in the equation of your thoughts, well then maybe it's all right. So it all depends on how you were taught, who raised you, as to what your opinion is on it. And there's many opinions. And myself, I try to be broad-minded about things and try to find excuses for everything, even if it's not right. Modern guy. Yeah. Is that what you wanted to say? One more thing about lacrosse too, that come from the original twins. Remember when I said about the woman that came from another planet, like Earth? When she came here, that's when lacrosse started, way at the beginning of the world. And that's the one they played for the Creator. And that's sort of like where night and day comes from, or death and birth, and happiness and sadness. And so the negative and the positive, that's what that ball represents. Is how do you keep a balance in your health, in your life, especially the nation, because the nation used that lacrosse as a medicine to keep their spirit and their nation strong. So it's hooked to that night and day part of it, as all medicine is. Because the way they talk about medicine is if my job as a human being is my body and your body is made up of positive power and negative power. It means that we have a day and we have to have a night in our life. We have to be born and we have to die. So those two things. So what we have to do is, our uncle and grandfather said, Grandma, is we've got to walk right between that positive and that negative power that's in the universe. Right in the middle. Straight. So we also touch the positive and we touch the negative equally. And we go right in the middle. If you go too much to the positive one, you're going to tip over. If you go too much into the negative, you're going to tip over. So when somebody's sick, one of those powers was too much for them, and it caused them to get imbalanced. That's called sickness. So part of the medicine lacrosse is to put back enough power from one of them to make it balanced again. And that's why when we fix medicine, herbal medicines from the swamps or the woods, they will use, the real medicine people will use one root to doctor you. Because if you're imbalanced, then one root puts you back to balance. They don't use two, they use only one. Or they have to use 3 roots or 5 roots because it's an odd number. And that's the thinking, is that psychologically and historically, if they use that odd number, and then takes your imbalanced body and then puts it to the balance. You see? That's the rationale that all medicine uses, including lacrosse as well. So that might help a little bit to understand that. So anyways, I hope it's the best when you are playing the lacrosse.